I got a set of H3 LED light bulbs on eBay. So this is the style that has the braided heatsink on the back. And it's got an LED on either side of the little light here. It was about 30 bucks, so pretty cheap. Here's the stock bulb. You do have to remove the fog lights completely from the bumper, not just the lens, but the whole housing. They're held on by two Phillips head screws on each side and the back, and it's a challenge reaching them with some of the stuff in the way. I found it was easiest to unscrew with a Phillips head bit in a like a driver on a little socket, and this allowed me to get those screws out. It's important to show the size. There was a bunch of different bulbs on eBay when I was looking. This one is really not much longer, which is a good thing, longer from the flange forward. However, it is a bit longer in the base. So we're going to have to remove part of the housing to accommodate that. Inside the headlight there's a little cup, a little metal cup there that really what it does is, it's got like a dish, like a reflective dish in here. So what it's doing is it's taking all the light from the bulb and it's bouncing it, from this dish against the walls of this dish and then out the lens. So if the LED bulb is too long, if the distance from the flange to the tip is too long, it bottoms out in that little cup inside here. So that's one of the critical dimensions. You also see a little square notch on one side and a little rounded notch on the other side of that flange. Those notches orient the LED bulb this way in the housing, which that projects the light upward and downward, which really isn't optimizing it, for bouncing, to the sides, which you want. So what I've done is I just took a little nipper, a little diagonal cutter, and just kind of snipped the sides off here so that I'm going to be able to mount the bulb in this orientation so that those LEDs are shining to the side. It's only a little bit of a struggle to get the bulb in the socket and get the metal clip in place, only because it's kind of bulkier than the original bulb that came out. And then I took the heat sink and kind of spread each of the 4 heat sinks in different directions and kind of tucked them into the housing. So now I'm ready to assemble this into the back part, the mount. I did have to drill a hole in the back of the housing. This is big enough to pass that little ballast for the LED light through it. It also, this hole is kind of like 2 layers, and the top layer right at this level doesn't clear the back of the bulb, so I had to remove it for clearance on the bulb in addition to passing through that ballast. I used a large Forstner bit in a milling machine, or like a drill press, to drill the hole out in the back of the housing. Now I've assembled the lens part against the mount part of the housing, and you can see how I had to remove a little bit of that material for the clearance, the back of the bulb, and then also to pass through that little ballast. And the other thing I had to do is I had to change one of the connectors on the ballast. I had to crimp on my own wider spade terminal for installing it. How much brighter is the LED one? That's the kind of bluish one on the left-hand side. So I'm about, 15, 16 feet away, and trying to get down low so that I'm kind of looking in there, directly in their focal point. You can definitely see that the left one just seems to outshine the original incandescent one. The camera's really having a hard time focusing on such a bright light. How much brighter is the LED than the incandescent, the original fog light? So I've got both of the lights sitting right next to each other, powered off of the same battery, aiming at the same spot, looking down my garage. So if I cover up the LED one, you can see how much the scene darkens. Where if I cover up the incandescent one, like, the scene doesn't darken a whole lot. That's telling me that the the bulk of the light lighting the scene is coming from the LED one. The LED one is definitely providing the bulk of the light. I just used some duct tape. I cleaned up the plastic surface so the tape would stick well, and then I just wrapped it around and wrapped it to the wire. I think that'll make it pretty watertight. I've put the light back in the bumper. I've used a zip tie to hold the ballast in place, and I've connected the wires up. The brown wire is the 944 ground, and that goes to the black wire to the ballast, and should be all set.